can't even see the Statue of Liberty today, and usually it's bright and clear. It's generated a kind of a cough all day long. I quit smoking 50 years ago, but it's kind of a cough that I would have when I was smoked.
A bit cloudy, makes my eyes water, you know. As I had to bring her out today, you know, we had to make sure keep our mask on because of the air quality, to make sure that, you know, we are okay. But you can't stay out here for too long. What you had to do, what you had to do, so we had to get back inside.
I've been here for like 40 years and I haven't seen anything like this. The air quality is just terrible.
I want to make sure my lungs stay healthy, because if you breathe in the particles from the smoke, they'll collect in your lungs and you could get disease from it.
Weeks of uncontrollable flames, blanketing the skies in large parts of North America. Swaths of Canadian forest ravaged, millions of hectares reduced to ashes. More than 20,000 Canadian residents displaced.
The air quality, not just in Canada, but right across the eastern portion of North America, is very significant. I think by all measures, this is perhaps the worst year that we have experienced with wildfires as long as we've been keeping records.
Wildfires are plunging the country into a crisis. Described as devastating by the government, they could become the worst the country has ever seen. According to the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Service, there are more than 400 active fires across Canada at present. 246 of them are out of control. Hundreds of firefighters from across the world have flown to Canada to help out.
It's an extremely dense forest that can't be penetrated with relatively few paths. So the helicopter is essential to be able to work and get to the edges of the fire. The other specificity is that there are no water points. We don't have a reserve of water tanks like we have in the south of France. So we have to adapt to the multitude of water courses in the area and work with natural water points and suction procedures in these natural water points to be able to use the water to extinguish and reach the edges.
We're on an earth scraping operation because the fire can smolder under the moss. So our job is to scrape away the moss to try and limit the risk of new fires starting in the coming days.
Canada experiences a wildfire season between May and October every year, but this level of destruction is unprecedented. This time around, the fires have specifically been widespread, numerous and intense, burning through more than 10 million acres in Canada. What are the causes of these wildfires? What are the other transcontinental wildfires that need our attention? And is there a way to prepare for wildfires? Let's find out. So what exactly is a wildfire? It's described as an unplanned and unpredictable fire in an area of combustible vegetation. Wildfires can start with a natural occurrence, such as a lightning strike or a human-made spark. However, it is often the weather conditions that determine how much a wildfire grows. The United States' northern neighbor is home to some of the world's densest forests. It's the reason it experiences wildfires every year. But this year, the wildfires are more severe than ever before. Canada is currently battling its most shattering wildfire season on record. The blaze has destroyed much of the country. It has created hazardous, smoky conditions across the continent and beyond, reaching as far as Norway in northern Europe. The worst affected province is Quebec in eastern Canada. The region has recorded 155 fires so far. There are also 70 active fires in Alberta, which is at the highest level of preparedness, and 68 in British Columbia. 20 of the 45 new wildland fires recorded are in Ontario. This is a video shot aboard a passenger jet in another province of Canada, Nova Scotia. It shows a plume rising in the sky.
Travel and activity in our woods is banned. We're going to stop the travel. We have to do what we can to make sure we don't have any new fires popping up.
Tim Houston, the Premier of Nova Scotia, says the damage is extensive. He announced a provincial ban on travel and activity in wooded areas. The idea to reduce the risk of more fires. The fact is that fires are now burning in every Canadian province except for Prince Edward Island, and Nunavut, a sparsely populated frigid territory in Canada's far north. The amount of land consumed is also striking. More than 4.4 million hectares have burned so far this year in North American country.
While this is an overall reduction in parts of Alberta, Nova Scotia, and Quebec, where people have been able to return home, many are still displaced. And as fires continue to threaten their communities, we're working very closely with our provincial, territorial, and municipal partners and First Nations partners to ensure that we provide support to those who have been evacuated.
The hazy skies were caused by plumes of smoke from the Canadian fires. Winds funneled the haze first to Ottawa and Toronto, and then directly into many of the major population centers of the U.S. East Coast. Authorities from New York to Minnesota have issued public health alerts. They have urged people to stay indoors. Citizens are also advised to wear masks to protect themselves from potentially toxic fine particles in the air.
We are still seeing every place is unhealthy except for the Adirondacks. Now that might be a nice promotion for the Adirondacks. That is the only place with clean air in the state right now. We're seeing unhealthy air quality levels in Long Island, New York, Eastern Lake Ontario, Central New York, Western New York.
Wildfires are more prone when the ground is dry and the air is hot. That's the reason why wildfire season lasts throughout the summer. This year, the provinces of Canada, like Alberta, Nova Scotia and Quebec, have experienced record heat. In fact, Canada's Atlantic region has been heavily affected by droughts since February. Parts of the region marked their driest April on record, according to authorities. But these instances only constitute 50% of the causes. World Health Organization says the other half is unknown. They can start anywhere and anytime. Climate change also plays a major role by causing more intense high-pressure zones, and brings with it prolonged periods of hot conditions and worsens drought. Though climate change itself does not cause heat waves or fires, it sets the stage so that when conditions are ripe, heat waves are more intense and fires burn more fiercely.
I know for many communities out west, this is nothing new. They experience this every year, but it is certainly getting worse. It is yet another alarming example of the ways in which the climate crisis is disturbing our lives and our communities.
Wildfires are harmful to human health. They cause air pollution. Children, elderly, and pregnant women are more susceptible to diseases linked to air pollutants.
In the lungs, they can cause irritation and inflammation, and they do the same thing in the blood vessels. When they're in blood vessels, they can really do a lot of havoc in the brain, as well as in the heart in particular. The kidney susceptible populations include kids and folks with medical conditions and folks in the later stages of life who might, for example, have more susceptibility to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or other consequences of what air pollution does. But we're all susceptible to this level of exposure in particular. We're all susceptible to this air pollution.
However, it's not just humans who have to bear the brunt. The lives of wild animals have also been disturbed. Many animals have been displaced due to the wildfire situation in Nova Scotia. Conservation officers are currently rescuing farm animals and pets in areas affected by fires. Volunteers are also stepping up to provide temporary homes to displaced animals. Twitter accounts from the province are flooded with such offers. Once a rare occurrence, extreme wildfires are now becoming more frequent and last longer worldwide. Wildfires have swallowed acres of dry vegetation and even developed areas. As the world experiences record-breaking heat waves and droughts, their number is likely to escalate. Let's look at some of the most devastating wildfires in recent memory.
It's not just a fire, it's a monster, and if it wants you, it's going to take you. It's going to come after you, and it's going to come fast. You know, if it's coming your way, man, you should move.
It's not normal. It's not normal. 68 years, the weather has changed. Everything's changing. People don't respect the planet we're on, I don't believe. I think the litter, the needless just cigarettes and stuff that doesn't have to happen.
In 2022, a series of wildfires burned throughout the U.S. state of California. 2 people were killed as a wildfire swelled over parched vegetation in Southern California. Hundreds of residents were forced to flee amid a severe heat wave enveloping the region. After years of record-setting blazes in the U.S. state of California, the 2022 wildfire season was notable for a different reason. It was relatively subdued. But what is it about California that makes wildfires so probable? Rising temperatures, drought conditions, and dry vegetation are all contributing causes of wildfires in California. But it is the impact of climate change that's worsening and prolonging the fire season in the state. How can one forget these heartbreaking visuals from the Black Summer in Australia? As per a study by the World Wildlife Fund, nearly 3 billion animals died or were displaced because of the Australian bushfire season between 2019 and 2020. The horrific bushfire burned more than 46 million acres of land and was likely responsible for La Niña's 3-year streak. La Niña, or the cold event, is a climate pattern in the Pacific Ocean, known to affect weather worldwide. It can lead to intense storms in some places and droughts in others. Some researchers believe Australia's bushfire catastrophe may have fueled the global onset of La Niña's climatic phenomenon. The Amazon is the world's largest rainforest. In the summer of 2019, large chunks of the iconic rainforest went up in flames. The smoke darkened the sky above Sao Paulo, Brazil's largest city. It captured the world's attention. The Amazon spans 9 countries. It covers 40% of South America. The forest produces about 20% of the Earth's oxygen, which is why it is also referred to as the planet's lungs. An inferno in the Amazon affects the entire world. However, fires are not a natural phenomenon in the Amazon rainforest. Almost all wildfires are deliberately ignited by people, who typically burn trees after cutting them down, or when they want to clear a swath of forest. This process is known as deforestation. It can cause wildfires that spread out of control. Wildfires threaten the lives of indigenous communities in the Amazon.
We have a country in economic recession, and this kind of thing is happening. There are criminal fires and tree cutting of people invading areas that shouldn't be occupied.
In the month of May this year, wildfires engulfed large areas in Russia's Ural Mountains and also Siberia. At least 21 people were killed. More than 80 fires were active over an area of 113,500 hectares in the regions of Ural Federal District. Nearly 800 local residents had to be evacuated. These are videos from the Sverdlovsk region. They show residents moving to shelters after they were moved from localities threatened by the flames. Volunteers also tried dousing small flames. In recent years, Russia has experienced especially widespread forest fires. In 2021, fires burned through 18.8 million hectares of forest as temperatures in Siberia soared. Experts blame climate change. Also in 2021, Nepal battled its worst forest fires in years. Here you can see smoke wafting through the mountains in the capital city of Kathmandu. 5 people reportedly died trying to put out the fires. According to the Nepalese Forest Fire Management, the country has recorded over 2,000 forest fires since 2020. Forest fires often erupt in Nepal in the dry season between January to May. Villagers burn dry leaves to prompt fresh grass growth for their cattle. The state of Uttarakhand in northern India also witnesses frequent and fierce forest fires. As per data from the state's forest department, over 107 hectares of forest cover in Uttarakhand have been affected by wildfires since January this year. Forest fires in Uttarakhand typically begin in mid-February and last till mid-June. When the temperature starts rising, dry leaves on the ground catch fire, and before long, the fire spirals out of control. Uncontrolled wildfires cause billions of dollars of economic damage each year. The figures are staggering. Between 2022 and 2023, wildfires accounted for over $3.2 billion in damage across the United States. Around 1.76 billion tons of carbon dioxide emitted globally in 2021. Wildfires in the European Union have burned nearly 2 million acres since 2022. The number of wildfires are expected to increase by 15% by 2030 and 30% by 2050. Air pollution is responsible for 7 million premature deaths annually. Razing forests, displacing humans and animals, and wiping out entire towns. Wildfires have left a path of destruction around the world. But is there a way to prepare for the uncontrollable trail of flames? Authorities recommend that people living in potential risk areas must remove dried branches, leaves, and other fire hazards from around their homes. A crisis is underway in forests around the world. From the Amazon to the Arctic, fire seasons have been raging with unprecedented ferocity. Experts caution that human changes to the landscape and decades of neglect by forest managers have set the stage for megafires of extreme size and severity.